And thanks, Tucker. And this is a Fox News Alert. Welcome to Hannity. And we are reporting tonight live from Las Vegas near the scene of the most deadly shooting in American history. Now, we are awaiting a police news conference. We will bring it to you, any news as it happens. Also tonight, we will speak with multiple eyewitnesses, heroes, and we have reporters on the ground tonight. But first, in the wake of this horrific mass shooting, Democrats, late-night comedians, celebrities, and members of the liberal mainstream media, they are racing to politicize this national tragedy. It is beyond shameful, beyond disturbing, and we'll have more on that in just a minute. Also, President Trump, he traveled to Puerto Rico today to survey the recovery efforts after the island, of course, was devastated by 2 hurricanes. Now, Geraldo Rivera caught up with the president for an exclusive interview you will only see right here on Hannity. All of that and more from Vegas in tonight's opening monologue. We're on the ground in Vegas tonight where 59 people have died. 527 literally were injured. 527 people, innocent civilians, Americans. That, of course, after a madman went on a rampage during a country music festival. So tonight, authorities, they're still working to determine the motive behind this shooting. But here's what we know so far about this madman. His name is Stephen Paddock. According to his brother, he was a multimillionaire who was a frequent gambler. There are also reports that the gunman's father was a convicted bank robber, once had been on the FBI's 10 most wanted list. And according to authorities, Paddock extensively planned this massacre. There's also newly released video of the hotel room crime scene where you can see the guns that Paddock used to carry out this deadly attack laying on the ground. And according to police, 23 guns were found in the room, including some that were modified in order to fire like an automatic weapon. And according to reports, Paddock, he set up a camera inside the hotel room to actually film his rampage. And he also, by the way, set up security footage. And we're asking the hotel tonight, release this. The American people deserve to see what happened. Police also saying that Paddock put a camera inside of a food cart that was left outside of his room in the hallway so he could see if any police were coming. And also tonight, we're learning more about the shooter's girlfriend. Her name, Mary Lou Danley, who authorities are now saying is a person of interest. Sources are telling Fox News that Paddock sent thousands of dollars overseas that may have been for his girlfriend, as she is currently traveling in the Philippines. However, it remains unclear who actually received this money. And U.S. government sources are telling Fox News that investigators have interviewed an immediate relative of Stephen Paddock's girlfriend. This relative described the gunman as, quote, unstable, and said he made them feel very uncomfortable. We'll have much more on the possible motive all throughout this hour tonight. But first, Democrats, liberals in the mainstream media, celebrities, late-night comedians, all predictably rushing to politicize this tragedy and predictably calling for more gun control. And we're going to get to those examples in a second. But unlike them, we have promised you on this show, we care about truth, we care about facts, we care about victims and families, and we're not peddling conspiracy theories or rushing to judgment. We're not trying to use this incident to score cheap political points. Now, it's probably why we almost doubled our competitors in the ratings last night. The American people, you can no longer trust these people in the mainstream media. It is sad. Journalism in America is dead. Now, yesterday, we told you, for example, liberal CNN reporter Jeff Zeleny, he said the only reason that President Trump cares about the Vegas shooting is because the victims were probably his supporters. We also told you about CBS having to fire one of their lawyers. Why? For mocking the shooting victims and not even caring. Well, tonight, unfortunately, things are getting much worse. Now, before we show you these grotesque and appalling examples, I want you to watch this ever so powerful video. This is from the concert last night, about an hour before the shooting took place. Almost 30,000 people in that crowd. My friends, big and rich, led the crowd, honored the military. Almost everyone in the crowd raising their phone with their light and singing collectively. God bless America. Powerful, so necessary. We all need to come together like the people in that crowd did 1 hour before that massacre. They weren't Republicans or Democrats, liberals or conservatives, Americans singing God Bless America. Now, I'm going to get back to my monologue in just a second. There is a press conference going on at this hour. We want to get the latest information. We'll head to that and come back to our monologue.
Make it very clear to you that I need some patience from you. This investigation is a long time from being concluded. We recently went down to the Mandalay Bay. I can tell you that we're days away from completion of the processing of that room. We're getting very close to the completion of the processing of the site. We have a significant amount of time left there as well. However, the southbound portion of Las Vegas Boulevard is now completely open. We are also working diligently as we speak. I believe we just opened up 2 of the northbound lanes, and the completion of the northbound lanes should occur sometime this evening. So, bearing in mind that the investigation is dynamic, ongoing, continuing, and I don't have a lot of answers for you yet, and clearly understanding that nobody wants answers to why more than the police and the victims' families. But we have a responsibility to get it right, and so that's why it's going to take time, and that's why we're going to take that time. However, there's some, I guess, at best, interesting reporting about how long the shooting lasted and how long it took us to get into the room. First question is, how long did the actual shooting last? I'm prepared to give you some information on that, and the first call came into our dispatch center at 10:08 p.m. about shots being fired. The suspect, I can tell you that we know now that he fired off and on for somewhere between 9 and 11 minutes. We know that the suspect fired over a dozen or so volleys, and we know that the firing by the suspect ceased at 10:19. So I want you to think about that. The first minute the police are aware of shots being fired at 10:08, and it stops at 10:19. That's a remarkable response by this police department. Also, another question that came up, how long was it before our SWAT team entered the suspect's room? Somebody said you heard that it was 72 minutes, and if why so long? As I just mentioned to you, and as the sheriff mentioned previously in the briefing, we had patrol officers actually working another event at the Mandalay Bay who heard the shooting, and they took it upon themselves to form up into a team, enter the stairwell, begin ascending the floors, and also evacuating hotel guests. The SWAT team had to arrive first at the Mandalay Bay before they could take any action. As I mentioned earlier, there was a very heroic security guard who was shot during the search for that suspect. That security guard went up to the room. He was advancing towards the room when the suspect fired through the door at the security guard and struck him. He was able to provide additional information to the police on exactly which room that we were looking at. However, at that time, it's important to note that the shooting had stopped. We're considering it a barricade at that point because it's no longer an active shooter. We're not hearing any further shots. The floors had already been evacuated of the guests. The suspect was now isolated and contained within a room. At the point that the SWAT team made their decision based on when it was appropriate to enter, I want to make it clear again to you that while there was that slight delay, the suspect was no longer firing into the crowd. There was a question about the validity of the crime scene photos that somebody had leaked. I can confirm those are, in fact, photos from inside of the room. They're, in fact, photos of our suspect. And as the sheriff mentioned previously, we have all opened up an internal investigation to determine the source of the leaks of those photos to the public. You asked what we found in the suspect's room, and the sheriff spoke a little bit about cameras being located. To clarify, there were 2 cameras located in the hallway so that the suspect could watch as law enforcement or security approached his room. And there was another camera placed inside the hotel room door peephole so that he could see down the hallway. At this point, you had a number of questions about the weapons, and the SAC from the ATF to my right, Jill Schneider, will answer or provide a statement to you, but not take any questions.
Good evening. I'm Special Agent in Charge Jill Snyder of ATF San Francisco Field Division. Special agents from the San Francisco Field Division's Las Vegas Field Office responded to the shooting that occurred on Sunday. Additional agents from other locations within the San Francisco Field Division, as well as agents from ATF's Los Angeles, Dallas, Phoenix, and Boston Field Divisions, have been working on this investigation. We know that you have many questions regarding the firearms in this case. There's also been a lot of unofficial information being reported regarding the guns. We'd like to clear up any conflicting information regarding the number of firearms and the current status of the trace information. Please understand that this investigation is ongoing, and I won't be taking questions at this time because we're still working through all of our investigative findings, but I'll give you the facts that we have as of this time. Currently, 47 firearms have been recovered. These firearms were recovered from 3 different locations. Those locations consisted of the hotel room, as well as Verde and Mesquite, Nevada. They were purchased in Nevada, Utah, California, and Texas. The gunman purchased rifles, shotguns, and pistols. At this time, none of the guns recovered appeared to be homemade. There were 12 bump fire stocks identified on the firearms in the hotel room. The ATF Firearms and Ammunition Technology Division provides determinations on devices such as bump fire stocks and their legality. The classification of these devices depends on whether they mechanically alter the function of the firearm to fire fully automatic. Bump fire stocks, while simulating automatic fire, do not actually alter the firearm to fire automatically, making them legal under current federal law. It is still being determined which firearms were used in the shooting. All of the firearms have been traced. We are still awaiting the results from some of the firearms that were located at the Mesquite residence. As the investigation proceeds, ATF will continue to conduct interviews and provide our resources and full support to the sheriff and all our local law enforcement partners. Thank you.
Thank you. As this investigation continues on, we continue to hear stories of heroics by police officers, first responders, and average citizens alike. I commend all of their actions as they showed immense courage in the face of extreme danger. I want to mention that one of those brave people was the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Officer Charleston Hartfield. Officer Hartfield was at the Route 91 concert that night along with his wife when shots rang out. Even though Officer Hartfield was at the concert as a civilian, he immediately took action to save lives. In that moment, he was acting as a police officer. He ultimately gave his life protecting others. Officer Hartfield was an 11-year member of the LVMPD and leaves behind a wife and 2 children. We're very grateful for his sacrifice. There'll be a vigil to remember Officer Hartfield this Thursday, October 5th at the Police Memorial Park at 6 p.m. As you all know, that park is located at 3250 Metro Academy Way, and it's being hosted by our Police Protective Association. As this community has become accustomed, when we do provide information in regards to our critical incidents, we release body-worn camera footage to you. There's a significant amount of body-worn camera footage that we're going through. However, I'm going to play a clip on our new very large monitor for you of a compilation of a number of those body-worn cameras. You'll see that the officers were dealing with some uncooperative citizens at times, but at all times they were trying to locate the source of the gunfire as well as evacuate those citizens that were in the line of fire. I think the video will speak for itself, so if you'd like to, I'll try to narrate just a little bit for you as we go through. But Carlos, if you could play that for me, please. That wall faces Mandalay Bay, and they're hunkered down behind that wall after an initial volley of shots.
Hey, you guys, get down! Get
At this point, they're still trying to figure out where the rounds are coming from.
Hey, they're shooting right at us, guys. Everybody stay down. Stay down. Where's it at? Come on, put the man on the base. Come out of the window. Hey, get behind cover.
Just a couple of officers hunkered down next to a patrol vehicle on Las Vegas Boulevard when one of our officers gets shot.
Get back! Get back! Get back! I know you want to get in there! Get in there! We see muzzles left in the Mandalay Bay!
This video is obscured. You'd notice the officers were wearing those yellow reflective vests. That's what you're actually seeing.
Everybody get down, get down, get down, get down!
Very difficult to tell from that video, but the officer's actually standing over another woman.
Get down, get down, get down! I got a vest on.
You heard him say, "I have a vest on."
Where are you? Go. Go. This way. Go. That way.
So before I take some questions, I understand that the coroner is here now. Oh, I'm sorry, I was looking right past you, John. This is John Fudenberg, the Clark County Coroner.
Thank you, Undersheriff. Again, I'd like to just start by saying that my condolences go out to all of those that are involved in this incident, and specifically the family and friends who have lost loved ones in this incident. I'd like to provide you some information, some updated information on what's happening at the Family Assistance Center at the Convention Center. We're fully operational all evening, all through the night, and tomorrow at noon we'll make a determination whether or not we're going to be open 24 hours going forward. But at minimum, we will be open from present time to 5 p.m. tomorrow. So we're still fully operational to answer any questions that the families may have, any friends of the families. I would also like to clarify, we are not releasing property at the Family Assistance Center. That is, as the sheriff mentioned earlier, that is going to be released. They're developing a plan currently to release that property in the future, and I'm certain that will be put out through one of these press conferences. I'd like to also discuss some of the numbers that we've been dealing with over there. I've had that question earlier by multiple media outlets. It's estimated we've served well over 1,000 family members and friends there at the Family Assistance Center. We're providing all sorts of services to include bereavement services, and our staff at the Clark County Coroner's Office has been meeting with every family that comes in there, and I'd like to again thank them. They're an amazing group of people, and they've been doing an amazing job in serving these families. I think everybody, except for the families, would consider this a huge success at the Family Assistance Center, and rightfully so. I think the reason the families may not is because if they're waiting 1 minute longer for us to provide information, that's too long. So they've been very patient. I appreciate that, and I just want to send a message to them that we are doing everything we can to communicate with them and get them the information that they need. If they want to come down to the Family Assistance Center, we're there to receive them and communicate with them. If they're not able to attend the Family Assistance Center, I'd like to provide you with a phone number that has been previously published, and that is within the state of Nevada, 211. Outside of the state of Nevada, that's 1-866-535-5654. We have call takers standing by to take missing persons reports. I believe that's tailored off quite a bit. To date, we have received over 3,000 missing persons reports. And I'd like to clarify what that means so people don't misreport the intent of that number or the intent of me giving you that number. That by no means means that we have 3,000 people missing. We believe that all 59 of the deceased are identified tentatively. We're working on positively identifying the rest of them, and we believe that will happen by the end of this evening. We estimate in between 9 and 10 p.m. So though that's very normal for us to receive an excessive amount of missing persons reports, missing persons report following an incident like that. So again, that by no means we have outstanding missing persons. We have very detailed manifest, and we believe that everybody involved in the incident from the decedent standpoint is accounted for, and we're waiting to communicate that with their families. So I'm available to answer any questions that you may have. I have limited time to answer questions, so I'll take a few. Yes, go ahead.
Did everybody who died die of gunshot wounds?
Excuse me?
Everybody who died, did they die of gunshot wounds?
Yes, the majority of them did. I'm not at liberty to tell you whether or not all of them did die as a result of gunshot wounds, simply because I don't know at this point.
How long until a list or names are released?
I'm working with the Metropolitan Police Department to develop that list, and we'll make that public. I would imagine that's not going to happen until at the earliest tomorrow morning.
The 3 victims that the sheriff mentioned earlier have not been identified. Is that because their families have not been able to come and identify them? Do you have any information?
We have, as I spoke to earlier, we have tentatively identified them, but we're working on some confirmation issues, and I'm confident they will all be identified. We believe we know who every single one of them is. It's just a matter of confirming that. We don't have the liberty to make any mistakes, so we've got to get it right. As the undersheriff mentioned earlier, we've got to get this right, so we need your patience, and we're going to work through the night to get that right, and I'm hopeful that we'll have all of those confirmed by tomorrow morning and the families notified. Yes, sir.
Sir, you said the majority died of gunshot wounds. Are we, when we get the totals and everything, the specific cause, are we going to find some who did not die of gunshot wounds?
I don't believe so, but again, I can't confirm that right now.
Mr. Coroner, have you completed an autopsy on Mr. Bennett?
I'm not going to speak to the details of the examinations at this point.
Completed it?
Excuse me?
Have you completed it?
Again, I'm not going to speak to any of the details of the examinations at this point, primarily out of respect for the families, Ken. I hope you understand that. Yes? Did you have a question? Yeah.
Can you describe the process for getting victims back to their home state to get into listing and when that will start?
Well, that's quite a lengthy process, but in a nutshell, the families of the decedents will make arrangements with the local area mortuaries, and they are the folks that provide details and provide the transportation back to their home states. Yes, one last question, if you would.
Estimated percentage of how many victims were local and how many were
I don't have that estimation, but we're putting that together, and we should have that by the time our list is finalized and confirmed.
Does the 59 include the shooter or not?
It does not. Excuse me, could you I'm not sure I understood that, and I want to give you accurate information.
The figure 59 dead includes the shooter.
No, we have 58 dead plus the shooter for a total of 59.
And when you release the list, are you going to post it online at the same time you announce the press here?
This is the last question. I don't know,
Okay.
but that will be announced through one of these press conferences, probably later today or most likely tomorrow at some point. And that's all the questions I'm going to take. Thank you very much for your time.
59?
Changing that number?
I can clarify the 59. We have confirmed 59 dead in our office. Yes. 58 plus the shooter for a total of 59, and that is confirmed. Okay? Thank you very much, Undersheriff.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, as you just saw, police wrapping up that news conference. Now, they did release some body cam footage. We're going to analyze that. We're re-racking it as we speak. Now, here's what they just told us in that presser. The suspect, he fired 12 bursts. The shooting rampage lasted between 9 and 11 minutes and had devices attached to 12 separate weapons to allow those guns to fire like automatic weapons. In other words, they were altered. The gunman had 2 cameras in the hallway and 1 in the room's peephole. Authorities are also saying that they recovered 47 weapons from 3 separate locations. Now, as we were explaining, you know, this is what exactly is happening, and as we get more details, we'll bring it to you. In the beginning of my monologue, I just played, as we were going to break, how 1 hour before this all took place, Big and Rich were on stage, and they had everybody in the crowd, almost 30,000 people, holding up their cell phones in light in unison, singing God Bless America. But yet you saw within literally hours the left politicizing this event before any facts were known. Let me start with the late-night comedians, for example. They were lining up literally at the chance to exploit this incident for political purposes, when what they should have been doing is what we played you earlier in the program. Watch this.
Congress can be heroes by doing literally anything. Universal background checks, or come up with a better answer. Enforce Obama's executive order that denied mentally ill gun purchases, or a better answer. Reinstate the assault weapons ban, or come up with a better answer. Anything but nothing. Doing nothing is cowardice.
When someone with a beard attacks us, we tap phones, we invoke travel bans, we build walls, we take every possible precaution to make sure it doesn't happen again. But when an American buys a gun and kills other Americans, then there's nothing we can do about that. And Second Amendment, I guess, our forefathers wanted us to have AK-47s.
We seem to do everything to avoid talking about guns. I've never been to a country where people are as afraid to speak about guns.
How does every other developed country do a better job at preventing these attacks? We can't be surprised that gun crime will always occur where there is such wide availability of guns.
To Congress, I would just like to say, are there no steps we can take as a nation to prevent gun violence?
This is beyond shameful, making political statements calling for things like gun control less than 24 hours after something like this happens, while people are grieving, while victims are still in the hospital, before we have any and all facts. It is utterly disgraceful. Mothers and fathers in hospitals hoping and praying their children, who are literally fighting for their lives, are going to be okay. Really? Late night hosts, you can't resist the urge for one night? Put aside your radical left-wing policies? And by the way, you're often so wrong about the issue. It's sad. Then you have celebrities taking to Twitter. They make their cheap political points. Lena Dunham, for example. Oh, no way not to politicize this tragedy. It's about gender and race as well as access to guns, considering it's random, is comforting and dangerous. Lady Gaga, oh, the great political philosopher she is. She writes, prayers are important, but Paul Ryan and real Donald Trump, oh, blood is on the hands of those who have power to legislate. And she writes, hashtag Gun Control Act. Hey, Lady Gaga, where were you when all the violence in Chicago was happening? Gigi Hadid. It sickens me, the ease with which a terrorist can be sold a gun. It's the ease really worth all these lives? This needs to stop. Or Sophia Bush tweeting, Dear Donald, F you for this. Truly, sincerely, America. Alyssa Milano tweeting, doesn't our children's safety mean more than your right to own weapons that can kill on a mass scale? F you, NRA. Now, here's the hypocrisy. Celebrities are completely out of touch. Now, shouldn't they be focused now? They're also caring on victims and their families instead of trying to score cheap political points against the president and advancing their left-wing ideology. By the way, here's the hypocrisy. They want to disarm all of us, all of you, the American people, prevent you from having the right to protect yourself, protect your family. How many of them live in expensive multi-million-dollar gated communities? How many of them have armed security anytime they leave their house? So the attacks from these celebrities shouldn't surprise anybody. Look what Saturday Night Live this past weekend said about President Trump. Take a look at this.
Oh, really, Donald? You bitch. This isn't that complicated, man. It's hurricane relief. These people need help. You just did this for white people twice. Do the same thing. Go tell Melania to put on her flood heels, get some bottled water, some food, pack up some extra Atlanta Falcons Super Bowl T-shirts, and write them a check with our money, you cheap cracker.
Really? You have to wonder, would they ever say that about Barack and Michelle? Here's Hillary Clinton also lashing out in her effort to exploit what happened. Watch her.
This is nothing but pure, unadulterated greed, motivated by people who want to sell as many guns as they can, to engage in a falsity of fear and rhetoric about why everybody has to have guns. And, you know, there's just, the evidence is just so clear that more guns do not keep you safer.
No, read John Lott. More guns, less crime. She waited a whopping 9 hours before she started playing politics with what happened here. She's just bitter and angry and, frankly, a disgraced ex-presidential candidate. Beyond disgraceful. Other Democrats, they're also following this example. So predictable. Watch this.
I know these are harsh words, but I believe it in my heart. I think there is an unintentional endorsement that gets sent to these mass murderers when after slaughter, Congress does nothing.
In the face of tens of thousands of gun deaths every year, too many Republicans in Congress have tried to enact the dream agenda of the NRA and the gun lobby.
Evil attacked Las Vegas, but we can do something about it. We can say enough is enough. We're saying enough to the evasion and the euphemisms. They can take those euphemisms and stuff them.
And I think we have to ask ourselves the same question again. Is there nothing that we can do? No law, nothing that we can do.
Want to know what pathetic looks like? Look at these tweets. A Democratic elected congressman, his name's Seth Moulton, as after Orlando, I will not be joining my colleagues in a moment of silence on the House floor that just becomes an excuse for inaction. Now is not a moment for silence. It's a time for action. Really, Congressman? You're that petty, you're that bitterly partisan, you can't even bow your head and honor those that died and those that are fighting for their lives in hospitals? You are pathetic. And he wasn't alone. Democratic Congresswoman Catherine Clark also refusing to honor victims with a simple moment of silence. These liberals, these people on the left are so blinded by their hatred of the president, the Second Amendment, anyone conservative, they can't even focus on what is important. And just like celebrities, these Democratic politicians are massive hypocrites when it comes to guns, right? Don't they have their own armed police force just to keep them safe? Most Americans don't have that. And like a lot of celebrities and all these late night hosts that are paid their millions of dollars, you want to have a debate, that's fine. Facts aren't on your side. Let's take a look at this headline. John Lott Jr. Gun control in Europe is almost total. It hasn't stopped mass shooting attacks like Las Vegas. And then Lott points out that Europe has some of the strictest gun control laws on the planet, yet there are still mass shootings there. And by the way, the left are always morally outraged over these mass shootings, but do you even remember them talking about the out-of-control violence, unprecedented violence in Chicago when Barack Obama was president? Let's look at the videotape statistics here. During the Obama presidency, there were over 3,900 murders in his adopted hometown. Did you hear anything from the left, the late-night comedians, Lady Gaga, the genius that she is? Or what about the more than 18,000 people shot in Chicago just during the last 6 years of Obama's presidency? Did anybody on the left, all these people out there, did any of them go to Chicago to try and help those people being shot? We listed their names on this show. Take a look at the side of your screen. We'll show you the victims of this shooting here in Vegas throughout the hour. This is the only thing that matters right now. Honoring those victims, supporting their families, praying for their recovery. That should be the main focus of the moment. Now's not the time to make cheap political points, divide the country, push your cheap political agenda, and try and use the tragedy to further a bitter partisan agenda. How about the country can come together like they did an hour before this terrible shooting, and nearly 30,000 people with their cell phones in the air and their lights bright as the light can see, you know, singing God Bless America. Joining us now, retired Vegas Metropolitan Police Officer, SWAT officer, Bob Lewis is with us. Bob's daughter was at the concert Sunday night. He rushed down to the shooting scene to find her. Also with us, Iraq War veteran Colin Donahue. Colin was attending the festival on Sunday night when the gunman opened fire. Also joining us, Tony Raybone. His son Nick shot in the chest, currently in ICU at the hospital. Nick's friend Billy Tufano, he's also with us. He was at the concert with Nick. He helped save Nick's life. And we're also joined by Russell Bleck, and he was at the concert taking videos of this madness after the shooting started. Let me start with you, if I can, Tony. First of all, your son was shot in the chest. Thank you for being. How's he doing?
He's doing very well now. They were able to take the breathing tube out this afternoon, so he's been sitting up and speaking a little bit. And he had about 2.5 hour surgery Sunday night, but he's doing much better right now.
You said because he was such a big, strong kid, that his muscle actually helped save his life.
Yeah, the surgeon said that he's not used to operating on someone with pecs like his.
Is that right?
The bullet
that had to make you a little proud.
It did, yeah.
Will there be any lasting injury for him?
Fortunately, no.
Thank God.
We don't think there will be, but you know, when he came to today.
By the way, thank God.
I know we do. Yeah. We really do, and
absolutely.
There's tremendous support. His main concern, though, honestly, when he came to, he was a little upset when he heard that he's getting a lot of national attention because he's a hockey coach here at UNLV.
He's the hockey coach? I played hockey growing up.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan.
So he's been getting a lot of attention while he was under, and when he woke up, he really was upset, honestly, because he was saying, you know, there was 59 people that died. He goes, I didn't do anything. My brother saved me. Billy saved me. Yeah. He goes, it's really difficult for him at this. And I said, well, you know, all the people in the hospital and everybody has been totally amazing.
Yeah. Billy, you're his best friend. By the way, you're a hero. You're also a paramedic, right?
No.
Oh, you're
his
not?
His brother, Anthony, that was with us. He's
the paramedic.
He's a paramedic for the Henderson Fire Department out here.
But you helped him. You helped save your buddy's life. That's going to make you feel good for the rest of your life.
We're grateful that he's here and that we were there with him.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you for what you did here. Your daughter was there. You hear about this. You've served on the police force how long?
27 years.
27 years.
20 of them on the SWAT team.
20 on the SWAT team. You know how dangerous this situation is.
She actually called me, Sean. She was at the intersection of Las Vegas Boulevard, Mandalay Bay.
Right.
She calls me screaming, petrified at 10:08. She says, Dad, the police are making me get down, and I hear firecrackers. She goes, it sounds like firecrackers. I'm hearing the rapid fire of an automatic weapon. I'm like, Annalise, that is not firecrackers. Can you see anything where this is? She goes, no, I'm literally in a dog pile of people. And she goes, a police car just pulled up to block where they believed the shots were coming from. So she said, I can't get across the street now. I said, okay, stay down.
Let me guess, Dad went running.
Well, at that point, Sean, I was in flip-flop shorts and a T-shirt, and I was already at my car in the driveway, but I didn't grab keys or anything. I'm pulling on the door because I'm just terrified.
Obviously.
Yeah, so
I hope you went back in, got your gun.
I went and got my gun, my bag, and I jumped back in the car, and I got down here, and the whole time I'm on the phone with her telling her what to do, and she's running, and I'm telling her, I need to know which way you're running. Well, she's not good with directions, but she's yelling out landmarks. She says, I just passed the building, says Oasis. I'm passing Haven Street, which is actually the street we're on. It just doesn't go through here. And then she says, I'm running towards a building that says videopoker.com, Dad.
Wow.
And the whole time I'm driving like a lunatic to get down here.
And you're talking to her the whole time?
The whole time on my Bluetooth. It took me 53 minutes to get to her.
Wow, scary, right?
Yeah, it was good. But the nice thing was, is as she was running, the gunfire was lessening. I could hear it weakening, so I knew she was running away.
Almost 11 minutes. Scary.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, Colin, you served in Iraq. It says, what does it say? Operation
Inherent Resolve?
I need glasses.
Operation Inherent Resolve. I got back on September 7th.
You're at the concert. You know the sound. You knew it immediately.
Roger. It sounded like fireworks, but at the same time, I was like, I've heard the sounds before. And it was surreal. I turned around, I talked to a guy to my left, and he dropped. And I looked at him, I'm like, what? Are you all right? He's like, you just shot me in the leg. And I looked at him, I was like, yep, that is a bullet hole. All right, well, put a finger on it, and everybody dropped on the second volley, and then once the volleys ended, they started, I was trying to push people to cover and concealment, and once we started clearing out the areas, we started doing some hasty triage, trying to make sure that people were all right. One of my friends, Olivia and Belinda, Olivia's a nurse, and so she followed me around, and we were verifying whether people were breathing or not, and then doctors, medics. There were numerous people there that were helping out, and it wasn't just me. There was tons.
And you were
and
able
tons.
to help with your background in the military.
Roger, I was. I worked with.
You can't tell you were in the military, Roger. You know, not. I don't have many of my friends that say, "Yeah, Roger Hannity, anything." So.
All right. Well, I'll continue on.
No, I'm proud of you. Thank you for your service.
Yes, sir.
And you were able to help save lives.
We tried.
Good for you.
We definitely
God bless
tried,
you.
and there
Thank
was
you.
tons of other people that were doing the same thing I was doing.
Russell, you were there. You're seeing this. You're taking videos. What are you thinking as you're watching this horror unfold?
You just saw people dropping. I mean, we were in the VIP tent closest to the shooter.
Yeah.
We were in the VIP tent closest to the shooter when I heard the first 3 rounds, and I started shooting video. I was actually already shooting video at the concert. It was the last song, so I thought.
Right back here.
Yes, sir. And then it took us
right over
15 minutes to get out of the tent that's right behind you. You'd run one way and you just see rounds hitting the ground, and then you just run the other way, and then there are 10-foot fences, and people just, we're mice in a maze.
Listen, you're a hero. You got out safely, thank God, and helping other people. Thank God you were there for your buddy. I'm glad your daughter's all right, and we're still praying for your son, the UNLV hockey coach.
Thank you.
You got to be proud of him too, you know. And thank God
we're
he's
proud of everyone.
Yeah, everyone. You're right, everyone. Absolutely.
The Las Vegas Metro Police Department did a fantastic job. The first responders.
I've met so many. They're amazing, right?
And then, absolutely. And then all the other people here jumping in. When I was running down Giles Street, it looked like a war zone. Triage everywhere. And there were so many people helping, yelling. Cars were being loaded up. Right. It was fantastic. I'm conflicted by being here because I was fortunate. I got to my daughter. She's safe. But so many other people were hurt. And I've been in this city for 27 years as a police officer. I've never seen anything like this.
You represent them. And we're going to get back to this video in a second here, and we saw that, and then we heard the scanner and the cop saying, okay, we're going to have a breach,
Absolutely.
Okay, the guy that they're breaching has a machine gun.
And those officers,
they went there while everybody else is scattering. They're running to save lives, so they're the heroes.
They're
in all
heroes,
this.
absolutely.
All your friends.
Absolutely.
Thanks for 27 years of service. All right,
Thank you.
guys, thank you all. All right, now, thank you all for joining us. Now, just moments ago, the authorities had this press conference right here in Vegas, which did shed new light on the gunman. His name's Stephen Paddock. Used to carry out his heinous crime. And let's watch this.
Currently, 47 firearms have been recovered. These firearms were recovered from 3 different locations. Those locations consisted of the hotel room, as well as Verde and Mesquite, Nevada. They were purchased in Nevada, Utah, California, and Texas. The gunman purchased rifles, shotguns, and pistols. At this time, none of the guns recovered appeared to be homemade. There were 12 bump fire stocks identified on the firearms in the hotel room.
All right, joining us now, Fox News senior correspondent Adam Housley and a reporter for the Vegas Review-Journal, Tyler Millward, is with us. You know, I always see you on satellite. I don't get to see you. You have some really good news that you're breaking tonight. Tell us what you found out.
Yeah, a couple things. Well, one, we know that the woman that everyone's been looking for, I'm told, is going to be landing in Los Angeles tonight.
Right.
Which they brought her back, obviously. There's no direct flight from the Philippines to Vegas. There are some direct flights from Asia, but not from the Philippines. And so you got to assume that she'll then be on a flight from Los Angeles to here. I assume the same night because there's flights here all night long.
Right.
It's an hour.
What do you also spend time in the neighborhood where this guy was? What can you tell us about it?
Yeah, Sean, in this neighborhood, the shooter was basically a ghost. No one really knew him. No one really interacted with him. They would see him from time to time. You know, he ate at Taco Bell. He played at the casinos, but...
Millionaire? Played a lot?
Definitely wealthy.
Gambled a lot?
Lived in a very nice neighborhood in Mesquite, a 55 and up community that's still under construction, you know, still growing, you know, and but wasn't very flashy. They didn't see any, you know, not a lot of furniture outside, just a single chair in his backyard.
Didn't talk to neighbors a lot?
No, and neither his companion, you know.
There's some story here, guys. There's something... Go ahead.
So I was going to say, off of that, it's interesting because we've talked to people at the hotel, and he's known there. In fact, some of the workers there were shocked when they saw his face on TV. He was known as a big gambler there. He stayed in the 2 different cabanas at the pool, which I'm told from people in the casino are where they send the guys or gals who are the high rollers that gamble a lot. So they knew who he was.
Maybe how he got all these guns up to the rooms?
I mean, the other thing too, I asked that to someone who also knows this hotel very well and has worked in there and has since recently left and said, listen, Adam, there's thousands of people coming in with bags every day. And if he was here for 4 days, he could have brought in 2 a day. No one would have noticed. People are dragging bags through there all the time.
Yeah, that's probably a good point.
Yeah.
But they did know him well.
Yep.
I want to go back to this girlfriend because there's obviously she's now a person of interest.
Right.
She's going to land in Los Angeles tonight. Good reporting on your part. And we got this money issue. They wouldn't answer it at the press conference tonight. There's some story here. I've been seeing pictures online. I'm very wary about what I'm seeing. I'm reading a lot of different things out there.
A lot of theories.
That he had been to the Philippines with her. I'm sure you probably have seen the same photos online, but we have not confirmed it.
Right. I mean, and there's a lot there. And as you talked about going to the neighborhood, I mean, maybe this is the only woman that had any kind of insight with him. I mean, and that's what we're trying. Everybody wants to know what was in this guy's mind.
We did get a little bit of insight from the other relative who said he was uncomfortable. I guess it was her brother.
Yeah, I believe so.
The relative that said she's uncomfortable just being around him.
Yeah, which would point to some obviously problems with this individual. I mean, for me, what was interesting when talking with folks at the hotel, and they've been, what's unfortunate for them is they've been getting a lot of phone calls from people blaming them for not stopping it. And it's pretty tough for a hotel. I would assume with that magnitude, with that many people going through, not sticking up for Mandalay, but that's a lot. This guy could have easily done this without anybody noticing anything. The employees say he was just kind of a quiet guy. They knew him. Mm-hmm. Remember, there's a lot of employees there, but certain employees did recognize him right away, and some of them were at this concert.
It's the within the age and day and age of social media. Now, granted, he's a little bit in a different generation here. You can usually glean something about somebody. It's like he's a ghost, this guy. But I think there's a bigger story here that we're going to find out. Guys, good to see you. It's always good to see you in person. Absolutely. I don't get to see you much. Yep. Very nice to meet you. Thanks for your good reporting. Appreciate it. Next time, no tie. Okay, when we're outside. But anyway, our thoughts and prayers are with the people of your city. All right, now, Geraldo Rivera. He was on the ground in Puerto Rico covering the devastation there for over a week. And just a few hours ago, he caught up with President Trump while he was touring the damage. For an exclusive interview you will only see tonight right here on Hannity. Let's watch this, then we'll come back to Vegas.
Obviously, with the President of the United States, thank you for coming. I'm sorry you're seeing the island under these circumstances. Many people feared that because of the awful tragedy in Vegas, you would be diverted. You came anyway. Why?
Well, they're special people, and as you know, I know many people from Puerto Rico. I come from a place called New York, and I love the Puerto Rican people. I also know the island very well. I've been here many times, and we have to help. And we've done a fantastic job. This was a very tough one. I say we got an A+ in Texas, we got an A+ in Florida, and we may have done our best work here, but it hasn't been appreciated. But actually, if you'd see over the last couple of days, now people are really seeing what we've done. The runways are open, the ships are pouring in, and a lot of things are happening, so it's great.
On that note of not being appreciated, I noticed the mayor of San Juan, Mayor Yulín, in the crowd. She's the probable Democratic candidate for governor in 2020. She did not applaud. Welcome to the bitter partisan politics of Puerto Rico. How do you feel? You've been blamed for everything from kids dying to a cholera epidemic that didn't exist.
Well, I don't know the mayor, but she was very, very nice at the very beginning. She said it's incredible what happened, and then all of a sudden I noticed she went a little bit on the nasty side, and I said, I guess she's running for office, and it turns out I was right. She isn't that a shock. But I will say your current governor, he's been amazing. Your congresswoman has been absolutely amazing, and the people, I met your state senators and lots of other people, and they've been so thankful, and I think virtually every mayor has been so thankful. I've met many of them this morning. The job we've done, and it's the job of the Navy and the Army and the Air Force, the Marines, the whole thing. I mean, it's incredible. The U.S. Coast Guard, what they've done. I mean, the lives that they've saved is so. The people are really very thankful.
Battered by 2 historic storms that wiped out a power grid that was already antiquated, poorly maintained, corruptly managed. What do? You had the Marshall Plan to rebuild Europe after World War II. Will we see a Trump plan to rebuild this poor island?
Well, we're going to help the people. Look, this had a lot of problems and a lot of debt. They had $72 billion in debt before the hurricanes hit. And they had a power plant that didn't work before the hurricane. So we're going to help them. We're going to do something, and we're going to get it back on its feet. But I'm just very, very proud of the fact that, if you look at just one statistic, 16 deaths, that's a lot of deaths, far too many deaths, but 16, if you look at Katrina, they had in the thousands, and this was a storm the likes of which nobody has ever seen. And, we had FEMA here before the storm even came. They were on the island during the storm, and they were on the island before the first storm. You got hit by 2 hurricanes. So we're very proud of the job we've done, very, very proud. And now we'll have to try and get them back. The power is slowly getting on, and the roads are open, the runways are open. So it's these people that you've met today, all of the different people, first responders, these are incredible people.